our phone in case somebody calls. What do you have, Barbara? Is that a phone?
Yeah.
Phone too. All right.
I got a puppy in the phone.
A puppy and a phone? Cool. And a rainbow on his face. All right. Our life, we never know exactly where we're going to be or what's going to happen or what we're going to do. That's why it's important for us to trust the Lord. Several years ago, I lived in Scottsboro, Alabama. It's a pretty nice place to live. I know some nice people from Scottsboro. But I actually lived there in relation to another job that I had. And but I was glad that it didn't last forever and ever and ever. I was able to come back home. I always came back home to be here with you, to see you. And that was before Harper was born. But one Sunday morning during Sunday school, Miss Liz worked with Addison and Avery, and they made this for me. And this was filled with nuts. And it was kind of like a little care package. It was part of the care package, card with it. And so I've kept this. This little sticker right here says, "We're nuts about you, Pops." And that meant a lot to me. It still does. So I appreciate that. And it let me know that you thought about me. And but I need more nuts. So, just say it. Just need more nuts. Laney, can you see it inside this container here? Very important. You can make a throw. No, you can stay right there. I just needed to make connection with you, and that's why I say Harper's name from time to time. I want to tell you a little bit of a story. Carter, there's a image, a JPEG image on the desktop that's named Ruby. I want to introduce my lambs this morning to Ruby Browning. She was my grandmother. She was my grandmother. She's been gone a long time. She's with the Lord. Her name was Ruby Lee Abernathy Browning. And that's her on her farm. And that's me helping her feed the chickens. Probably at this point in my life, I probably still thought that chickens were pretty harmless creatures. I was to find out differently later on. I got flogged by one of those chickens, which made me enjoy fried chicken even more. I'm going to tell you a little bit about a story about my grandmother, a story that she told me. Let me show you something. I'm going to reach inside here. You see that? Over there. That is a silver dollar. Many years ago, even before I was born, my grandmother contracted a very, very serious illness. She became very, very sick. It was actually an illness or a sickness that many, many people in our country had. It was, I know that you and I have heard about COVID-19 or the flu, or being sick in different ways. But back when my grandmother was very young, she contracted a disease called tuberculosis. They've shortened it to TB. And if someone had tuberculosis, if the doctors determined that they had TB, it was a very deadly and a very contagious disease. You could catch it from other people. You could catch it, and when you had it, you could give it to your family members or your friends. If they came close to you, they could get sick with TB too. Many people did not ever get better from TB. I think, I'm not even sure, I've kind of been out of that kind of pathway. Are there still vocations where you have to get a TB test to work, like healthcare or a dietitian still has to be tested for TB, for tuberculosis? Well, this was also before health care or health insurance. And so when my grandmother contracted tuberculosis, they put her in what was called a sanatorium. It was a hospital where they put sick people so that they would make other people sick. They treated them there, and they had different therapies and different medications and so forth. But they were more than anything else, they were to get them away from other people. It was kind of like being in a prison. And they, I know when we had COVID-19, they made all the well people stay at home. But when people had tuberculosis, all the sick people had to go somewhere else. There was a TB sanatorium up on the hill in a little town called Flint, just a little ways down the road, just before you get to Hartsville. Flint. There was a TB sanatorium there. But things were very, very difficult. And things were very hard. And she had to pay for her own meals and pay for her own medication and pay for her doctor. And her family didn't have a lot of money. But one day, my grandmother woke up, and on the sheet on the foot of her bed, there was a silver dollar. As a matter of fact, there was more than one. There was more than two. There was a pile. She woke up and looked down there. She heard a noise. It sounded like, kind of like that, maybe. A little bit like that. And there was a stack of 20 or 30 silver dollars. Now, I know that you've probably seen a silver dollar, or a dollar at least, but this is like one of those paper dollars, except it's made out of silver. And it's probably worth more than a dollar bill. But there was a stack. My grandmother told me about this. She said, I woke up at the foot of my bed. There was a pile of silver dollars. She says, I don't know where they came from. But she says I could use them to buy food with and to pay for my meals and to pay for my medicine. And she said, she was telling me, I was her grandbaby, she was telling me, she said, it was exactly the right amount of money that I needed. And she said, I never found a person, a family member, or a doctor, another patient, I never found out who gave me those silver dollars. And she said that happened on 2 other occasions. It happened for 2 more times. She woke up 2 other times, 3 times altogether. She said at the foot of my bed, right up on top of the sheets, was a pile of 20, 25, 30 silver dollars. She says, you know what? I think the Lord gave you that money. I think the Lord met my needs. She said, the reason I'm telling you is because I'm thankful. And I don't know what I would have done for the rest of the time that I was in the hospital, because the longer I stayed there, the better I got, and the healthier I became, but the less and less and less money I had, and the less money my family had to help me with. said I would wake up, and at least on 3 occasions, there was a big pile of silver dollars at the foot of my bed. She said, I believe that God gave you that money. It never occurred to me. It never appeared to me. It was never a thought in my little boy mind that she made that up or that she wasn't telling the truth. And when she told me that she believed that God gave her that money, I believed her. I really did. There's not a lot of things in life I believe in. I'm not a real big believer. I'm almost always amazed that I'm a Christian, that the Lord gave me the ability to believe, because I'm very skeptical. I don't believe many things. A lot of people come and say, let me tell you something. My first reaction almost always is to say, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. But I believe Miss Ruby. I believe my grandmother. I believe that God helped her. You know what? I know my grandmother helped me. I believe that God used her in my life to teach me about Jesus. I believe she loved Jesus more than any person that I've ever known. And we called her, she was a little tiny. She probably only weighed 70, 80 pounds. You know what all her grandchildren called her? Little Mama. Little Mama. That's my little mama right there. And she prayed for me, and she prayed for my cousins, all of her grandchildren. She prayed for us every day. She prayed for us. She was used in my life. If you have a mommy or a daddy, brother or sister, if you have a grandma, grandpa, pops, Mimi, whatever you've got, who prays for you, you're very fortunate. And if they ever tell you something about God, if I were you, I'd think about believing it. I'll never forget that story. And I'm happy to tell you that story. I hope you believe it too. Okay? All right. Thank you very much. Our ushers would come forward. Let's receive our morning offering and contribute. If you have a silver dollar to give, that would be fine. And what's our hymn of 339. 339.